So on today's call, I've got Nick Raeburn with me. He's the founder and owner of Viral Media, and he's the father of two wonderful young children and husband to a wonderful wife. So we've got 16 weeks we've worked together, and over those 16 weeks, Nick's managed to lose 30 pounds. He's lost 4 inches off of his waist, 4.5 inches off of his hip, and 3.5 inches off his chest. And on our call on Monday, our last coaching call on Monday, we talked about how you'd been on a walk with your family and you'd had Clarence in your new kind of like child buggy taxi carry thing, and how he weighs pretty much the exact weight you've just lost. So what was that like to realize that you've been lugging around your son's weight for the last few years unnecessarily, Nick?
It was it's just quite eye-opening when you actually because he often likes to jump on the scales when I'm weighing myself as well. He just monkey see monkey do, but it was eye-opening to see the difference, like carrying around his weight and the weight that I was carrying around, just for even like a half an hour walk that we did at the weekend. It was phenomenal, the difference. Like at the end of it, I was like, really? Like I literally couldn't believe I was carrying around that much weight. It's bonkers.
And then when you just mentioned, whilst we were setting up ready for this call, how you've had to change your bike helmet. You've had to change the size on your bike helmet because you've lost weight. So it's not even just like stomach weight, it's just everywhere. I mean, I think a lot of people who know you on LinkedIn from the last few years will probably have noticed quite a considerable difference in your face that is in all the videos and in your physique. So I suppose it's probably best to start off where we started. So where were you, both physically, mentally, because it's not just the weight that's been lost that's a big change for you. So where was it that you were when we started talking about you and I working together on the Executive Evolution Framework program?
I mean, there was I had kind of a sort of kind of personal journey that I've kind of been on since we kind of started working together. But before that, I knew I kind of wanted to make a change because my kids are quite young. I've got a 9-year-old and 2-year-old, and when the youngest came along, I was like, I'm adamant that I want to do something about my weight and my kind of focus. I think it was like I had no real kind of control over what I was kind of putting in my mouth, really, and sort of exercise and kind of mindset. But I mean, kind of since starting the program, the difference that I've seen in terms of kind of my focus and my mindset and being kind of systematic with what I'm doing, and still having days where like I have a cheat day every week on a Sunday where I can eat whatever the hell I want and I still manage to lose weight, consistently lose weight. It's I was not particularly in a good place. Kind of my focus was kind of everywhere. I was quite tired a lot of the time, just not in a good place really. But
And before we'd spoken, I know that we've been talking on and off. We've been friends via LinkedIn for a while now, but we were talking on and off, and you'd reach out and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm curious about. Do you have any tips on this? Do you have any tips for that?" And I gave you some advice throughout the years, and so you've been trying to lose the weight before we worked together, and you succeeded in losing some, but then you would put it back on again. So kind of, what was the difference between what you tried before and the approach that we took that made it work for you?
I think you helped kind of build a framework essentially around kind of habits and goals, and that works phenomenally well because we are all essentially kind of creatures of habit, and a lot of what I was doing before was kind of, I mean, I've tried all kinds of weird, crazy things like kind of water fasts and like juicing, and I'd lose the weight, but it was very yo-yo. Like the weight would come off and it would just come back on again. And you've kind of helped kind of build the base to work off of, to give me the tools and the ability to kind of maintain that weight loss and keep it off. So
It's funny you mentioned the dieting, the juice diets, because I remember the last one you did I think it was either the beginning of this year or last year. And I remember you posted about it. And I remember kind of reaching out to you being like, don't do that. Please don't do that. And then you did it, you lost some weight. And then within a few months or weeks, it came back on again. And I think that's when we ended up talking. But Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the framework. I find a lot of people, especially business owners, are phenomenal at creating a framework and structure for their business. Otherwise, they wouldn't be successful. And they're really good at organizing stuff for their kids and having their shit together for their family and for business. But then the priority of work, the priority of children, the priority of wife, the priority of business, and then you're not even visible in the screen. Do you know what I mean? Your priority of you is just not even there. So how big of a difference do you think focusing on how you prioritize and view you and your worthiness of deserving to be healthy and happy and fit and all that kind of stuff, how much do you think that had an impact on your ability to do so well?
Yeah, dude, just phenomenal and life-changing. I can't even begin to kind of gushing about it, but I think most people kind of have their priorities are completely skewed and they're kind of 180, and you have to take care of yourself first, which sounds completely selfish, but if you don't take care of your own health and well-being, you can't look after those around you. You can't run your business efficiently. There's so many knock-on effects to it, and taking care of you and making sure that you're a priority and that you come first with your health and your mindset and exercise is massively, hugely important.
So when we think of it in that sense of how it's impactful onto every area of your life, before us working together, give us an example, like as a business owner, how did you find running your business when you were unhealthy, when you were overweight, when you were unfit, compared to where you're at now? What's the before, what's the after?
I think the before was kind of a lack of kind of clarity and focus. As a creative, I think a lot of creatives are kind of a bit like it, that we're very kind of magpie-like. We kind of move from one thing, we flip from one thing to another quite easily. We get bored very easily. But yeah, things like kind of getting me to kind of meditate and concentrate on mindset is maybe a lot more focused on goals and a lot more time efficient as well. So it's that's massively helped in terms of kind of how I've kind of got much more structure in terms of the business. I think there's always a kind of a battle between the kind of left and right brain with the creatives, because you have to kind of the right brain, the creative side, you have to kind of feed it and kind of let it run wild, and you're for balance you need that you need the left brain to take over sometimes and and scold you. So
did you feel like you've got not just a better approach to work in terms of the structure and the framework you just mentioned, but also, before, when you weren't doing the things you're doing regarding your sleep, your exercise, your mindset, your stress, your sleep, your energy and your mindset around, because obviously you've been on quite a personal journey on how you view yourself and self-esteem and things like that. So how much of an impact do you think that's had on the business? So not just being more practically, structurally minded with the framework, but on you as a person, where you were before to where you are now. How's that changed the business or changed you running the business?
Yeah, again, a massive shift, just a huge shift in mindset. People, whether they realise it or not, your own self-worth, your own self-esteem is intrinsically linked to how much you'll end up charging a client. I know I'm good at what I do, but I didn't value myself as much as I do, and self-care and gratitude is has been a massive game changer for me, really. So
awesome. And how do you think your approach to stress, which is obviously anyone who runs their own business is very aware of stress, how do you think your approach to managing your stress? Because we've done a lot of work on this, on your coping mechanisms, on numbing tools like Xbox use, social media use, turning to food. These are all things that I think a lot of people who are watching this can relate to. So how's that changed from before, your way of coping with stress?
I think everyone's got a different way of kind of coping with stress, and I think it's kind of recognizing the kind of triggers for it, and kind of almost kind of sidestepping them, really, a bit like like a good analogy, but a bit like a bullfighter with a red cape. So let the stress just kind of flow past, but you have to be aware of it. You have to know where it's coming from and be able to see it to cope with it. But yeah, in terms of coping mechanisms, it's kind of night and day different. And again, kind of going back to the the mindset stuff and meditation, that massively helps.
That's awesome. I was laughing then, Nick, because I had this wonderful image. I'm a very visual person. I imagined you. I've actually been to a live bullfight years ago when I was a young child in Spain, and I just pictured you being the matador in the funny costume, and it's a very comical view.
At least it almost looks like that.
Okay, so it's night and day regarding kind of your approach to working and your management of your stress. You're no longer suppressing the stressful things. You're no longer trying to numb it. You're, like you said, aware of it. Self-awareness has skyrocketed. You're aware of what the triggers are, so you're able to sidestep it like a matador, or you're able to kind of just manage how you respond to stuff. So I think that kind of neatly segues into a big topic of what I do with clients, is talking about what we do and don't have control over, so that we can let go of a lot of perceived control, which just leads to anxiety and stress. The work we've done on that front, I know that's been big for you. Like, in your own words, how do you find that focus has helped you over the last 16 weeks?
I was kind of almost kind of building to it, I suppose, but it's almost like someone kind of flicking a light switch. I suppose I kind of got to a point probably, I don't know, maybe a month ago, where almost kind of a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my God, like, I just feel like a completely different person. It's amazing. Words can't begin to describe it, really. It's just the difference in the old me to the new me, in terms of kind of gratitude and kind of my kind of self-worth and we don't, I think as people, we and especially I think a lot of creatives do it as well, they beat themselves up a lot, and a lot of where creativity comes from is that it's almost kind of kind of self-abuse, really. So I think as a creative, there's kind of there's an element of kind of lack of self-worth, and that's where some for a lot of creatives their creativity comes from. But with the gratitude practice and kind of just self-love, really, just kind of looking after yourself and taking care of yourself is it's been a massive fundamental shift in my thinking, my mindset, and sort of having time in the day to kind of take care of yourself and have portions of the day where you're looking after yourself is important on that journey, I think. 100%.
I
don't know if that. Sorry, I cringed at the end of that. I didn't know if that sounded good, but
no. I think it's valid how you feel about that topic and that subject, and I think you're right. A lot of people I know, be it any kind of creativity, it's their demons that drive that creativity. Sometimes it's where it's like their well that they draw from. But if you're not aware of how that impacts you, it can lead to seeking comfort in food to help you numb when you're overwhelmed, when you feel like your self-worth is bottoming out and you just don't feel like you deserve to be happy, healthy, whatever it may be. So working on that, and you mentioned gratitude practice a couple of times, but that's like the cherry on top, or like the tip of the iceberg in comparison to all the other things that we've done around that. So positive affirmation, the mantras that we use, focusing on the things that impact you the most and trying to get you to work on it daily to rewrite the script of how you viewed it up until now. Because, obviously we carry a lot of the stuff from our childhood into our adulthood. And if we don't do the work to rewrite it, it's like we learn these habits, some are healthy and some are unhealthy. And if we don't do the work to undo the unhealthy old habits and rewrite the new ones, we're always going to be battling. So I think that's where you've made a lot of progress as well. And in regards to, your approach to nutrition and exercise, because you've always been someone who loves to downhill mountain bike. So
can't get enough.
How has your approach to nutrition and your approach to exercise changed, do you reckon, over the last 16 weeks?
Yeah, you've got me doing a lot more hit and hurt stuff. Obviously, big component. And I've said this before. I'm very much a fair weather rider, so I'll go out when the weather's good. But yeah, obviously now it's winter. It's kind of drawing in, so putting those kind of principles in place for indoor training has been really important. Unfortunately, we don't live in California. I live right next to the seaside down in there. Well, I'm in Eastbourne, which is supposedly supposed to be the Sunshine Coast, but it's not at the moment. So yeah, having a framework in place to continue with the exercise, especially as you get older, is quite important. And yeah, the kind of focus on kind of helping me ascertain what kind of food groups are important to eat. I mean, it sounds very clinical and boring, but it's not. It can be interesting and exciting. There's not. I was quite nervous, I think, when I started, that I was like, oh, we're going to kind of be eating just chicken out of a box and salad, and there's a variation in the types of food that you can eat. Which is fantastic, and like I said, but I've still got things like cheat days where I can eat whatever the hell I want, basically, and still know that I can still maintain my weight loss and keep the weight off. And for me, that was always a massive issue, is that I couldn't I'd kind of binge eat, and then I'd lose the weight, and then I'd binge eat again. It's just this constant yo-yoing thing, not a kind of a smoother process of just kind of consistently eating properly and kind of keeping the weight off. So
yeah, it's a huge difference, and I think that the change for you is not just about the knowledge, because you can go on Google, and with the right kind of research, you can discern the bullshit from the truth, and you can find the real information about nutrition. It's not so much about just the knowledge; it's about the ability to applicate that knowledge and to adhere to that. So that, I think, is the biggest change for you. Is not only do you know how to eat to lose weight, to maintain weight, but you also know what to look out for that causes you to go off that track. So you mentioned that you're allowed to cheat meal. So part of the process I have is the 85-15 approach, where it's 85% of the time we're on point, 15% of the time we're not on point. So that enables you to be naughty, have good foods, have really unhealthy stuff like Five Guys. I remember you had that once, and still lost weight. So that's all good to know, but if you can know and not do, so I think helping you realize that and start to be better at application has been a big game changer.
Yeah, and the it's the goal setting and the accountability as well. It's nice to have someone there to kick your ass every week and kind of check in with you, and it's like, you managed to.
Did you feel like I had to kick your ass? I was going to say, did you feel like I had to kick your ass that much?
At the start, a little bit, I think, but then you start to get into the groove and rhythm of it, and then you were kicking my ass to teach me to kick my own ass, basically. That's what I've done. I'm now kicking my own ass.
It's this. The image again. I'm trying to picture kicking your own ass.
It's very difficult.
Don't say something if you don't want me to try and picture it, Nick. Okay, because otherwise, that's just where my mind goes. I was just going to say that on top of you talking about the weekly goal setting, so I just wanted to focus in on that, because obviously the executive evolution framework that you're on is a customized approach. So there's no cookie cutter. This is the nutrition I give to everyone. It's tailored to you. Everything is tailored to you, the individual. And I think a lot of people try stuff where it's, here's everything in week one, go away and do everything week one, good luck. And I think the reason why the approach that I take with my clients works so well is it's baby steps. So how do you feel about the kind of 3 to 5 goals per week? If you want to just give anyone watching this a bit of an idea of how the goal setting works from week to week.
We have kind of small, kind of maintainable goals that we hit through the week, and the great thing is we don't end up because a large component of what I used to do was beat myself up a lot if I didn't do something right or something was wrong, or but with the goal setting, it's like you have these kind of small, manageable, achievable goals to hit, we don't hit them, we end up carrying them over to the next week, and they become kind of building blocks, to kind of put this framework in place to help you kind of maintain the weight and have the right mindset to diet and exercise. And I hate that word diet. It's just eating the right stuff, basically, because diet just says to me, it's like, oh, it's just, like I said, it's the whole, whenever I hear the word diet, it sets that thing in motion of yo-yo. It's like, I'm going to diet and then the weight's just going to come back on again. But you've given me the structure and the foundation to maintain that weight loss and keep it off and make a fundamental change to the way I live my life, which is huge.
I think it sounds cheesy when people say this. And I'm really, my industry, the health industry is full of cheese balls, in my opinion. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah, it is a lifestyle change, a fundamental shift in the way you view food, the way you eat, how you eat. It's transformative.
It's the what, it's the when, and it's the how of eating. Got to be mindful of what you're eating, when you're eating it, and how much you're eating. And just to clarify, like, we've not at any point, we haven't talked about calorie counting. We haven't talked about weighing food. We haven't talked about meal prepping on a Sunday. It's literally been, at any point, have you felt like you're on a diet?
No. And there's
and you've lost 30 pounds.
Yeah, I've lost 30 pounds, which is nuts. If someone had said that to me, a couple of months back, I'd have been like, "What? Like, you're talking about your backside?" But it's amazing. In terms of the freedom you have with food, and it's not so prescriptive. Like I said, there's different kind of recipes to follow. Like I personally kind of love cooking, so it's nice to have options in the evening to kind of cook different meals and have normal kind of meals that I have with my family, and I'm still losing weight, which is bonkers.
It's really, really good. I think it's because I've given you some recipe ideas to try and inspire you, but it's definitely not you've got to eat this. There's no time. Like, I'm not being didactic with telling you exactly what, when, and how. It's like these are the boundaries. This is the framework. We keep talking about framework and structure, but if we can create a framework for every single aspect of your life, so it's guidelines. Therefore, and you also mentioned this earlier, it's like you used to beat yourself up if you didn't succeed in being perfect with something. I say this, I think you probably got fed up of hearing this over the 16 weeks, but progress, not perfection, right? It's a huge part of it, because a lot of people, again, they go into being healthy going, I cannot ever do that again. I have to avoid all of it. I can never eat carbs again. I can never have a chocolate bar again. And it's like, well, that's great, but is it realistic? No. So then that means you're not going to adhere to it in the end. So it's got to be something that you feel comfortable with. 30 pounds in 16 weeks. And you've had you've also had some really stressful weeks in those 16 weeks. Both personally and professionally. And I think one thing I wanted to touch upon is when most people think about wanting to get healthy, they think about exercise, they think about nutrition, and they might think about sleep. But can you just tell anyone who's watching this how important you feel stress management is in terms of losing weight and being healthy?
It's huge in terms of, I've had weeks where I've completely nailed my exercise, completely nailed what's going into my mouth, but it's the stress that's caused me not to. I've every single week I've either maintained or I've lost weight, but some weeks I just maintain, and it's usually down to stress that's caused that. So things like having the right amount of sleep. In the evening, we've got like I said, got a young boy. Thankfully, he's sleeping through the night now. He stopped teething and he's sleeping all through the night, which is heaven. But when he wasn't, it was we'd be up sort of two, 3 times a night, and that adds to it. The more tired you are, the more you're. I think you said to me, you're tired. You get kind of spikes in your insulin. You want to eat more rubbish, which causes the insulin to spike. It crashes again. You want to eat more rubbish again. You just go through this cycle of, I it's bizarre, but I used to eat in the evenings. I'd get home some evenings, we'd have dinner, and I'd be like, oh, I'm just popping down the shops to go and get a bar of chocolate or some sweets. And it's like we'd sit there and we'd eat a bar of chocolate between me and the missus. Don't do it at all now. Neither of us eat any kind of rubbish in the evenings, because my insulin is just like, it's flatline. It's perfect.
You've got a much more, and that's the other thing. A lot of people think that they need to eat like 6 meals a day, or even just 3, and that they need to snack. And you've been, majority of the time, it's been 2 meals, 2 very healthy meals, and no snacking. So you're literally eating twice a day. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate nutrition. They overcomplicate their approach. And I think a lot of people who, and I'm not bashing anyone in my industry, but a lot of people who work in my industry as coaches also overcomplicate it. And I think unless you're trying to get competition physique ready, and you want to stand on stage in a thong, bronzed up to the eyeballs, unless you want to do that, then you maybe need. We haven't got you there yet, Nick. I will get you in a thong, bronzed up.
Nobody needs to see that.
But unless you're aiming to do that, you don't need to overcomplicate it. For the majority of people who are looking to get healthy and fit and feel better, they overcomplicate it. So absolutely. We've talked about, where you were, how you focused on lots of different things outside of just nutrition and exercise and even sleep, and how much that's been impactful. Kind of where you're at now, 16 weeks on, like I've given the parameters of 30 pounds lost, the inches lost. How has it impacted your relationships with your kids? How's the new Nick impacting the relationship with the missus? You tell me, we've talked about where you were, but where are you now? How's the difference going for you?
I'm just a lot happier, a lot calmer with the kids. Things don't kind of send me over the edge a lot. I mean, my kids are pretty cool anyway. They're both fantastic kids, and they're pretty chilled out. We've kind of got an environment, a house where everything's kind of calm and chilled out, because I don't want there's a knock-on effect with stress. If your kids are kind of stressed out, or you're stressed out, that kind of stress just kind of permeates throughout the environment. Like Alice sometimes will get excited and kind of scream, and she'll be like, yeah, and then suddenly Clarence will start off, and it's like you'll hear Charlotte in the background like, oh, can you just keep the noise down? It's like it's interesting. But I'm obviously a lot happier, a lot calmer with them, and the relationship. I mean, my relationship with my wife's always been fantastic, but it's awesome. I'm in a really good place.
Do you feel like when you're with your kids, because this is something that a lot of people when they're older regret, is that they wish that they'd be more present, even though they are physically with the family, they are not with the family. So how has that changed for you? Because I've got a couple of things in mind that as part of our coaching, we got you to put your phone away. And things like that. We've got this little thing in the evening, because I'm guilty of very. I use obviously LinkedIn as a kind of lead generation tool, and I'm very conscious in the evening. Sometimes I'll be, I used to be at the dinner table, sometimes kind of checking my phone, checking my inbox, and now I've got a period of time basically when I get home in the evening between 5 when I get home in the evening, 5 and 7 when the kids go to bed. My phone goes in a box, and this is my daughter's idea. So it goes in a box with my wife's phone. We don't touch our phones, and that's the time we have. That's meal time. It's time with the kids. And she did it last night. I got in, and I was doing it. I was checking my phone at the time. She's like, "Right, in the box." I was like, "This is amazing!" Like, my 9-year-old daughter's telling me that I need to turn the technology off and spend time with her. So it's fantastic. And on top of the physicality of putting away distractions, even when you're just with them, I think with the work we've done around control and mindset and outlook, you're less stuck in the past being, getting anxious about the future. You're able to be actually in the moment with them, which you keep mentioning you're happier and you're calmer. I think that's a massive contributing factor to that. Yeah.
There's, I think a lot of parents, and it's, just because of the Western world that we live in, we're surrounded by technology, we're bombarded with information all the time. We aren't present and focused when our children are there a lot of the time, and it's quite sad, really. I see it a lot of time. You go to parks and there's kids playing, and the parents are literally just like this. They're just, you know, embedded in their phones, and their kids are like tugging on their shirt or whatever. It's like, you know, come and play with me. It's like they'd rather, you know, they're slaves to these machines, and it's quite kind of sad to see. But yeah, it's because I'm more present and more focused. It's you know, I enjoy my time with them because it's limited. They are going to grow up pretty quickly. So yeah, I think just kind of being present and being with them and like really kind of, you know, listening to them is massively important, and that's hugely changed since doing the training with you.
I love it. And obviously you mentioned as well a couple of times how for you feel like you've got a lot of skills now that we finished working together. You've got a lot of skills and knowledge to be able to go away on your own and at least maintain your progress, if not continue your progress.
Yeah, it's the teach a man to fish analogy you've taught me to. I feel like is it Castaway with Tom Hanks? You know, when he starts out and he's like trying to catch the fish, and then like towards the end of it, he's just like stood like perched on a rock with a spear, and he's like just like spearing the fish. It's like, but yeah, the framework and the tools you've given me to kind of go away and do it myself are, yeah, you've kind of almost kind of shot yourself in the foot a bit, but yeah. A huge change. And, you know, I think I've said this to you before, I will never ever go back to the way I was in terms of my my kind of attitude to my own kind of you know, self-compassion and kind of mindset and what I was eating and exercise just won't happen.
Which is awesome. And I think kind of we talked a lot about where you were, what the journey's been like, and where you've managed to get to now. Mm-hmm. Being quite blunt about it, when you think about your investment to work with me, what would you say about the return on investment? Because I know a lot of people, when I speak to them, they're a bit concerned about the fact that it's a hefty chunk of change, and there's that concern of, is this going to be worth it? What are your thoughts on that?
I think not enough people invest time or money in themselves, and like I said to you the other day, there is no price I can put on what you've done and how you've helped me, basically. So yeah, the money is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for people who have, if you've ever tried to lose weight before, if you've ever had a personal trainer, if you've ever had a nutritionist, it kind of blindsides you a bit to think in a very particular way about what getting healthy means. And so when I then have a conversation, it seems like I'm coming at it from an extremely bizarre angle of this, wanting to approach mindset and wanting to approach stress levels and all of this. But that's where the magic happens. So it's where you have to do the work. So I'm glad I am really glad that you feel, and your wife as well, you mentioned that Charlotte feels like it was worth, because she was a bit hesitant when we started.
I think, when we started, she was like, you spent how much on a personal trainer? I was like, just please have faith. It will work. And she's like, she's eating her words now. So
well, you said to me on Monday how it's crazy to see Charlotte go 180 in terms of being really worried about the investment you made, and now being like, you said she sees it as being a really great and worthwhile investment. So if it can turn the misses around, because when I talk to, I only work.
It's always a good sign.
It's always a good sign, but I only work with guys, so there's a lot of the time there's the other half is a bit apprehensive because it's something they're not aware of. It's out of their comfort zone. It's often out of the comfort zone of the clients I'm talking to, but it's if you can have that open discussion and tell them what you're doing and what you're working on, it's great to see her come full circle and be like, no,
the results speak for themselves. You can't argue with the results, and just how I feel in myself is just literally transformative, absolutely transformative.
It's great to think that you're going to go out there and be a much happier, much more content Nick with your clients. You're going to be a much happier, more content Nick with your kids. Your kids are going to have a calmer father. Do you know what I mean? Like the role model,
the knock-on effects. The
role model that you are to them is really, really important. I don't think a lot of people realize that. You said monkey see, monkey do. Kids are monkeys. They see, they do. So if you're eating shit, if you're not exercising, if you're hyper stressed and very reactive,
they think that's normal. They think it's normal, and that's how people eat. That's how people live their life. They think it's normal, and it's not. It's not normal.
No, it's not at all. Well, I mean, for anyone who's watching this and is thinking, I need to get healthy, I've got X amount of weight to lose, and the weight, it's not just about being heavy, it's about there's issues in how you feel about yourself. There's low self-esteem, low self-worth, you're highly stressed. If anyone is watching this from that position, what would you say to them?
I wouldn't even hesitate to just send. The great thing about Dan as well is that at no point did Dan ever try to. He just gave me loads of valuable information. I kind of went down my own route of kind of reaching out to Dan and sort of spark up the relationship with him. But he is a you're a cool cat, dude.
Thanks,
yeah. It's just nice to be around someone that's kind of loves what they do, are very good at it, and they get results, and and then they're good at kicking people's arse as well. So
I can do that when I need to.
Yeah, I wouldn't absolutely wouldn't hesitate to reach out to Dan. It's like I said before, it has been fundamentally transformative to the way the kind of future version of me is doing things.
We known each other for a long time before we worked together. Do you kind of wish that you'd pulled the trigger a bit sooner?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if I'd have done this kind of 5 years
ago,
a year and a half ago before my son was born, it would have been a massive game changer. But you can't, we can't live life with regrets. I've done it now. I've put the work in, and I've got the results, and now I'm better for it. So I think that there is no better time than now, basically, to get it done and take care of yourself, really, because you're like, is it L'Oreal? You are worth it.
I don't know how you know that, Nick, or I know that. But,
I don't know. With the hair,
use that for
I'm
the
sure
beard.
It's L'Oreal. You're worth it.
You need the Captain video to be present for that one. Look, Nick, I really appreciate
you are worth it, and it is worth taking the time to look after yourself, because the knock-on effects of looking after yourself the ramifications of it are huge.
I think that's a really good way to end this. Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate your kind words and taking the time to go through your journey to hopefully help out somebody else in the same position decide that it's time that they make themselves a priority. Even if it's not with me, I think I want people to understand that it's worth making yourself a priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, mate. No worries.